Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner that has a product, service, or message that you truly believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind the scenes look at real world networking and marketing tactics while leveraging LinkedIn to get what you have in front of many more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and let's get started. So Stephen and Stephen, no, the audience has heard that right. We got two Stevens with you guys today. Welcome to today's episode, and just grateful for you guys to be here and looking forward to the conversation. And I always like to start the episodes off kind of like in the same tone. And whoever wants to go first, but I want to kind of pose this question to the both of you. If you guys could rewind the tape on your business journey and press stop at a particular point that you feel was almost like that jumping off point for you guys, or that catalytic moment that really kind of pushed you guys into everything that you're doing now and obviously into the future, what was that moment for the two of you?
Yeah, man, I'll tackle that first. So, for me, I would say the point that really like catapulted us to the future, was when I quit my job. I was working as a data analyst for a company called Yardi Systems in Atlanta, Georgia, and uh, in the background, we were doing e-commerce, right? We were learning how to run Facebook ads, and we started to create this thriving e-commerce brand. Um, and it got to the point where we became so knowledgeable that we realized we could do this for other people too. Um, Turns out we sold the store, and we'll get into that story too, but we sold the store, started helping other people build their stores. And then we ended up linking up with this guy that Steven knew, right? His name was Russ, and he gave us the opportunity to train his new marketing startup, right? So we were going to be hired to train this marketing startup in Miami, Florida, and we had flown out there a few times and mentored some of his team, and that was going to be our job, was like training the team and also helping with the clients that they brought in. It was paying about 10K a month. So at that point, I was like, all right, well, yo, I don't need this job anymore. So I quit my job, right? And when I quit my job, I was like, peace. I ain't never coming back. Peace out. I don't want to talk to y'all no more. I'm out of here, right? Like one of those type of things. Literally, about 2 months in, the business goes under. And at that point, we didn't have no money coming in at all, no 401k to rescue us, like nothing. And at that point was like when we had that like back against the wall type of feeling. And that was the moment that, like, in my opinion, that catapulted us to success, because at that moment it's like, yo, you don't have anything else to lean back on. You have no money. You got to go out and get it right now. And at that moment was when, like, I truly understood like what the grind really was, and what truly having faith, like blind faith in an outcome that you cannot see yet. I truly understood what that was. You got to truly believe when, like, there's nothing that shows a sign of success. You got to truly believe it. And for me, that's the moment that catapulted us into um the next level of entrepreneurship and,
That
and
was
running a
a
successful
that
business.
was a really, really crazy time. I would have to agree. And I think the reason why mostly is because it activated that elite version of ourselves that we never even knew was even there. And this is what I try to tell people all the time is you had this elite version of yourself right now that's kind of underneath the surface right now, and it's kind of just sitting there dormant, and you don't even know that he or she is even there. And most people never really get to truly meet that elite version of themselves. And the reason why is because, in my opinion, that elite version of yourself is only activated by one thing, and that's pressure. Pressure is what activates the elite. When your back's against the wall, you become capable of things that, dude, you never knew you were even capable of before, right? And so the thing is, since the elite version of yourself is only activated by pressure, well, here's the thing: most people don't like pressure, pressure is very uncomfortable. Most people go away from pressure. So that way they never actually get to meet the greatest version of themselves because they're afraid to back themselves in a corner like we did, right? And going off of that same story, we went from making like 10K a month. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she was also making about 8,000 a month. So we were doing pretty good. And then literally one day we wake up in the morning to check the Skype group that we were all in to see what the updates were. And I go to the Skype group and there was no Skype group. Like the whole entire business shuts down.
Go on.
Then 2 weeks later, and it sounds like a story that's made up. 2 weeks later, my wife gets laid off from her job as well. So the department of the job that she was working at got outsourced to somewhere else in another country. So she got laid off. And I remember having this conversation with her. We're sitting in the bedroom kind of figuring out what we have to do because my son is like 6 years old at the time. Like it's not just us to take care of. And she's like, hey, I just got this opportunity. Like my friend, she can get me at this other job that I'm at, that she's at. And I can go get another job if you want me to. You want me to take the job? And like inside of my mind, I'm like, yeah, like absolutely take that job. But I told her not to. I told her, I said, no, don't take the job. Because in my mind, I knew if you take that job, that's going to get me comfortable again. And it's going to take me away from that pressure that I know I need to feel right now. And so that I can be the best version of myself. So I told her not to take the job. And long story short, everything started working out, right? But we had to grind at it, man. And I would just say that to anyone listening, it's like, dude, you have to be okay with feeling that pressure. And don't necessarily think of that pressure as a disadvantage. Think of it as an advantage, right? Because once your back's against the wall, you're capable of things that you never knew you could do. And once you do the things, you can never unlearn that about yourself and you will never be the same person, right? So anyway, that was one of many moments though, Scott. Like,
Yeah.
that's how it goes. And I always tell people nothing happens inside the comfort zone. Everything happens outside of that. And a message that I always have for people is that when getting uncomfortable becomes comfortable, you're doing big things. And that's the thing.
It's a bar.
My wife and I we're always striving to not just get uncomfortable, but to go to places that we've never been before, because our belief is that the peak of one mountain is the valley of the next. So, you think you're at the pinnacle point, but then you look over the horizon and then there's a bigger mountain to climb and then a bigger mountain to climb. And you're never going to reach the top. There's always going to be a next level. And that's that's the game of life, right? That's the fun of it. It's finding out how much you can stretch yourself. So before we, the topic that I really wanted to kind of like come back to is something that we were talking about in the pre-show, which is, email list growth, which we're going to touch on in just a second. But if you guys could reflect on that transition period between, company there one day, company gone the next, and now it's like, okay, it's decision time. Let's get uncomfortable. Let's become the best version of ourselves. Let's really reach for the stars. What was the biggest lesson learned in that whole time frame of the one company closing down to you guys going all in on yourselves? What did you take away most from that whole transition?
Yeah. So in the other crazy part to that situation is that that company ends up dissolving overnight, and we had like literally no money. Right? We had like $5 in our bank account, like in our business bank account.
No lies, like literally.
That was it. So then at that point we were like, okay, what do we need to do? So basically at this point we needed our idea was to start an agency because we knew how to run ads. So we're like, hey, why don't we start like running ads for other businesses and charge them a retainer? Problem was we had no idea how to do that. So we ended up finding a course, a mastermind that was $12,000 that taught how to do that. We didn't have all the funds. We literally had to like pull money out of my savings, his savings. We had to get other people to go in it with us. So essentially we became extremely resourceful, and we invested even more into another mastermind so that we can learn this new skill set. And when we got that, I remember when I got login access to that course, dude, I was like obsessed. Literally, you can ask my family. I was like on that course, like doing everything that I possibly could. But ultimately, like the thing that got us from where we were to where we wanted to be and where we eventually got was our skill sets, was the things that we knew, right? Because knowledge is the only asset that they can't steal from you, right? You can buy a house and they can take your house. You can get a car, they can steal your car. You can even start a business where your business can get sued and it can get taken away. The only asset that can never be taken away from you is your knowledge. So we had that knowledge and we were able to leverage it and do all the things with it. That's why we're so passionate about coaching, about empowering yourself, because when it all falls down, all you have left is what's up inside of here, right here. So
Nah, for sure.
That's what it was, you know?
And what I would say to that too, man, is literally, and I'm gonna go back to this, like literally having the utmost confidence in your ability and your skill set, even when things seem like they're in disarray. I think that's the biggest thing, because like during that time, my dad got sick because my dad is a diabetic. My dad got sick, had to get his leg amputated, right? So like the family's going through all of this stuff, and then I'm going through all this stuff in the business. But one thing about my dad, and this is why my dad is my role model, is because he's a grinder, right? He has tremendous drive and he continues to push even when things seem a little bleak. So during that situation, when he's laying up in the hospital bed and I'm talking to him, he's still positive. He's still asking about work stuff. He's still focused on all of these other things. Then when he gets out the hospital and he starts operating like a normal human being would operate. He's climbing ladders. He's doing yard work. He's at school. He's walking around like there's nothing wrong with him at all. And one thing that taught me, and it was a great learning lesson, was that he had the ability to not focus on his disability, but instead focus on his abilities, and that's what got him through. So meanwhile, while we're going through this situation and we weren't focused on being broke, having $5 in the bank account. We weren't focused on, being able to afford bills and stuff. We were simply focused on our abilities, and that's what got us through. So that was a huge teaching moment for me, being able to see that. And that's just how we are naturally as people. Like we've been together business partners for like 15 years, and that's just one thing about us is anytime there's ever a situation that might seem like it's not going to go in our favor, we don't ever think about quitting. We continue to push forward, and that's what gets us. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because what's the alternative though?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you have to live in the solution and not the problem, and that's the thing. I'm a big believer that no matter the problem, there's a solution or a fix for it. And again, it's switching that mindset. So, but it's also that victim mentality. Do you want to be the victim or the victor, right? So do you want to like drown in your sorrows and, oh, woe is me? And again, other people figure it out. So can you. And I think that's the big thing, is being resourceful, being resilient, but also having that sheer will and determination that no matter what obstacle or what roadblock or gap or hole that may be there, you're going to overcome that. And that's the thing for anyone that's listening or watching. Entrepreneurship, business ownership, it's not a straight line. If you think there's never going to be an obstacle that you need to overcome, you're in the wrong line of business. There's going to be, you're going to face challenges. I mean, entrepreneurship is an ever evolving type of thing. With AI, coming about and all the different things that people, and there's people that like run away from it. My wife and I, we dive headfirst into it. They're like, okay, if this is the next thing, let's learn as much as we can about it so we can, interject it into our business and our knowledge so we can then help others the same way. So we got about 10 minutes left, and I just want to be respectful of your time, but also the audience. So something that we were talking about in the pre-show is the importance of building an email list. And a lot of people are always looking for hacks and strategies. And my big belief is this, and we talked about this right before we started, is that no email list, no business. And the fact is that social media is rented land. We don't own our LinkedIn accounts, our Facebook accounts, they could be taken away in 2 seconds. So for everyone that's listening, and again, we are on the same page here, as far as level of importance, where would you put the focus on growing one's email list within the spectrum of what someone needs to do to grow their business.
Dude, I would even say if there was one thing that I could teach somebody how to do, if there was only one skill I could teach people to grow their business, it would be building an email and a phone list. That would be the one thing. And the reason why is because having an email and a phone list, it supercharges everything else that you're trying to do. And I don't care what you do. Like, let's just say you want to have a little promotion and you want to, make some extra sales. Okay, great. Email and text your list, make more money. Oh, let's say you want to go live and you want to get more people on your live video to make more sales. Okay, great. Email and text your list, get more people on the live, make more money. Let's say you're doing a physical event and you want to have a bunch of people there. Okay, great. Text a bunch of people the address and have more people show up. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. At the end of the day, having a list is the most important thing that everyone can do. For what Scott just said was very, very important. If you are relying on social media, just understand that you rent that audience. It's not your audience. You don't own it. So if Instagram kicks you off tomorrow, that means your business is gone tomorrow. Right. And that's a very scary thing to think about, but the other thing that I like to let people know of is something called, I tell people that the platform matters. When it comes to promoting your stuff and getting your stuff out to people, the platform matters. And what I mean by that is there's a stat called reach rate, right? And you guys need to understand reach rate. Basically on Instagram, if you were to post something organically, on average, you're going to reach about 5% of your audience on average, right? Some people do a little bit more, some people a little bit less, but let's just say you have, 100 people following you. On average, you post that post, 5 people are seeing it. Okay, cool. So that's posting on social media organically. Now let's go to email. What's an average open rate of an email like in today's landscape, right? An average open email rate is going to be around 20%, right? So now the reach rate goes up. So now I know if I can email the same 100 people, all of a sudden now an average open rate is 20%. Okay, awesome. Now let's go to text marketing. An average deliverability on my text messages are 98%. So that means if I got 100 people that I'm texting, on average, 98 of them are going to see it. So you need to understand the reach rate. It's not about having millions of followers. The platform matters. It's about the platforms that you're reaching out to people on. So I hope you really, people really take that into consideration.
And when it comes to text and email marketing, like I want the listeners to think about their daily lives and how many of their favorite businesses hit them up on this thing right here. How many text promotions do you receive on a daily basis? Me personally, I get at least 4 to 5 text promotions every single day, right? Email marketing, I get even more every single day, probably closer to 10. So one thing you have to understand is that if the biggest businesses in the world are doing it, then all you got to do is follow the blueprint, follow what it is that they're doing, because these things are working, right? I was reading a stat and it said for every dollar spent on email marketing, on average, just across the board, businesses are making back $37 from that. For text marketing, on average, for every dollar spent, businesses are making back $71 for text marketing. So these stats are absolutely ridiculous. But then people got the nerve to sit here and tell me, I don't want to be annoying. Like, yo, are you kidding me right now? You don't want to be annoying? Are you serious? Do you hear yourself right now? You got to understand, if these businesses are being annoying and texting you every day, it's got to be because it works. Because the biggest businesses in the world, they don't do things repeatedly if they don't work.
Yeah, but you know what that is, man? That's a perspective. It's a false perspective, right? If you feel like you're annoying people when you text them, well, all that means is that you don't feel like your products or services are actually valuable.
Well, it's a confidence thing. They're not confident in their offer. And again, I think no matter what, everyone starts at the same place. And I think that's, so I always go back to a book, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And he always says that every master was once a disaster. So if you think you're going to be an expert from day one and you're going to hit a home run from day one, you're wrong. Like, you have to start somewhere, and it's going to be uncomfortable. And if you have that mindset and if you adopt that narrative that I'm being annoying, then you're never going to reach out to people. My wife says this all the time. Growing a business, owning a business is a contact sport. You have to contact people to get you in
Mm.
front of the right people.
I
I
love
love
that.
that.
I love that. And it's very, very important too. Because another thing is this: if you truly think your business is annoying and you're telling yourself that, then guess what? When you reach out to these people, they are going to think that you are annoying. We're really big into energy, and thoughts become things. And if you're reading T. Harv Eker, I know you're probably into the same stuff. It's very important that you drink your own Kool-Aid, right? And you truly celebrate yourself, and don't think of it as being cocky, but understand that if you do have the best products and services in the world, it is your duty to put it in front of people that truly need your help, because then you're changing their lives. You're also putting food on the table for your family when you do this. But if you do not do that and you continue to give all of these lame excuses about why you can't do it, honestly, you're being selfish, because now your family's not going to eat, and now you're not going to be able to change other people's lives. And ultimately, that's what we're in it for, is to change other people's lives, because when you change other people's lives, you get to make more money and everybody wins. So that's
Yeah.
why we're huge proponents of, growing your email and phone list, because you have direct contact with these individuals at any time. And that's the beauty of it, because we know a lot of content creators who have millions of followers out there, and they're not making any money,
Talk
because
about
they're
that.
married. They're married to social media, but only one person's committed in the relationship, and that's them, because social media will betray you. You'll get your account hacked. You'll get your password stolen. They'll shut you down, all of this other stuff, man. So growing your list is the best way to supercharge your business.
I could not agree more. So before I get to my final question for the two of you, obviously the audience's interest is piqued about how can one grow their email list and how they can grow their phone list. So tell the audience a little bit about how you guys work with people, especially in the sense of, growing their email list, phone list, and what's the best way for people to find out more about how you guys can help them.
When you're going out and starting to try to grow your list and all this kind of way, there's ways that are more effective than others, right? And you want to find somebody who already knows how to do it. They've been doing it for years, so you can just hack that and just save a bunch of unnecessary headaches and stuff like that, right? Because like I love the old saying, like, you learn from mistakes, but there's no rule that says the mistakes have to be your own, right? You can learn from other people's mistakes and hack a bunch of like unnecessary wasted time. So we've been doing this for years and years and years. So we have a 3-day event. It's a challenge. It's called the Grow Your List Challenge. And it's a 3-day event. It's live, virtual on Zoom. And we literally, for 3 days straight, we are just unpacking all the different secrets and different strategies that we've been using for us and thousands of clients that we've already worked with on how to build their list the right ways, how to build effective lead magnets. What's the psychology that goes into actually making people opt in to your stuff? Like, what are the psychological triggers that actually make people say, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. There are certain words that you should say. There's certain words that you should never say. And there's a certain like landing page for like, there's all different types of things that you need to know when you're doing this. And by the way, I want to say all that, but I also want to say it's not complicated whatsoever. It's not hard, right? We actually provide templates and scripts and stuff like that. So it's very, very easy. But having that information is very important, because once you learn it, you can't unlearn it. So anyway, for 3 days straight, we're just teaching that stuff. And we've had some incredible transformations. I mean, people growing their list, like, and once you get that list, it's very important. Where do I go from there? Now you have all these people's emails and phone numbers, dude. There's monetization strategies that we lay out for you, right? Now you can go out and start monetizing that list. So it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend anyone who's halfway serious about growing their business should definitely join, man. It's fun.
Well, I'll put the link, obviously, in the description and the show notes, so everyone knows exactly where to find it. And I'm going to
Appreciate
encourage
that, man.
everyone that's listening to do so. So we got about 60 seconds left. If each of you could summarize what success means to you in one word and one word only, what does success mean to you in one word?
That's a great question. So success to me, if I look at success, the one word that comes to mind is abundance.
I love that. Stephen?
I love that. The first word that popped up for me was feeling. And I don't know why exactly, but success is a feeling, man. It's because it's subjective. It's not about the amount of money you make. It's not about, this and that. It's about, do you feel good? Do you feel successful? And do you feel good about what you've done so far? To me, it's all about a feeling, man. And the thing is, in order to embody that success, you have to feel it before it becomes into existence. Right.
Facts.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to thank you guys again for coming on today. I very rarely do like a dual episode, so I know this was very fun for the audience. And again, you can see both of them on the YouTube channel, which I'll drop a link in the show notes and email so you guys can watch the episode as well, so you can see us jamming out. But I just wanted to express a ton of gratitude to the both of you. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And I know the audience is going to obviously take so much away from this, but I'm going to really encourage them to join your 3-day challenge so they can learn how to properly build and nurture that email list. So guys, thank you again for being here today.
Thank you, bro. We really appreciate that.
Yes,
absolutely.
Much appreciated.
As always, continue to support the podcast, subscribe, obviously leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved, what you want to hear more of. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days. Love and gratitude, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you could, please support this podcast by hopping over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or any place that you're listening to this. Leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most and what you would like to hear more of. But also, if you would like to learn how to take your business to the next level, whether it's using LinkedIn or working directly with myself and Nancy in our intimate group coaching programs, you can head over to www.thetimetogrowth.com or scottaaron.net to learn more. Thank you again for your support, love and gratitude, and I'll talk to you soon.